Greetings, folks, and welcome to the Electromaker podcast. And we are back to a nice, regular, mixed show where we're just talking about a few different things, which is what the Electromaker show has always been about. We have a little bit of new product news. We have some update news on a product that's already out, and a couple of projects on the Electromaker website. We are returning to crowd supply for funding website things. Again, one update on something we've talked about in the past, which was the MNT Pocket Reform. If you're familiar with that project, that's the very open hardware in every single respect, security conscious computers that do cost a lot and are nowhere near as powerful as other computers, but people love them for a reason. It's a fascinating project. And we have a new product of the week, which is a quite exciting environmental sensing hat for the Raspberry Pi. As always, I'm just going to say this at the start of the show. If you are enjoying this show, please do consider going to electromaker.io/shop. Every single thing that you buy there goes into supporting what Electromaker does. We don't have sponsors on the podcast. We don't run adverts anywhere, podcast or YouTube. It's pretty much the only thing we do for supporting our own show. And so if you are thinking of starting a new project, do head over there and see what we have in stock. We have a very wide range of stock, considering that Electromaker's audience is made up of makers, some of whom are starting their journey now, right through to engineers who have been working in the field for a long time. And the stock that we hold in our shop reflects that. All right. Thank you so much for listening to my slightly wombling introduction. Let's get on with the show. We're going to start this week's show by looking at a couple of projects from the Electromaker website. And just a quick reminder, for those of you that may be new to the show or may have forgotten, putting projects on the Electromaker website is completely free. It's very easy to do as well. We have a system on the website that just allows you to put whatever your things you're using in different boxes and write up a little story about it. We even have a guide as to how you can do that. And the reason that I'm mentioning that is just, again, the second reminder is that every month we give away prizes to the top 3 projects on the site. You don't have to do anything special to enter that. If you upload your project to the site with a free Electromaker account, you're already in the running to win. It's great for us because it means we have just a huge amount of community projects to look at all the time. And as I've said many, many times, it's one of my favorite things about working with Electromaker. Now, we have 2 projects to look at. And the first one is one of those things where you hear tiny ML all the time. Tiny machine learning. You can do machine learning on microcontrollers now. Well, why? What's the point? Well, this project is a perfect example of that. So, Coders Cafe Tech has come up with a clog detection system that uses tiny ML. The essential things here is essentially just one sensor and a microcontroller that's powerful enough to run a tiny ML model. That said, you can run tiny ML models on an Arduino Uno, and you don't have to know any code to do it. If you use an online platform like Newton AI or Edge Impulse, you can train models and then send that model to the cloud, and it will send it back to you, and then you can deploy it onto your device. In this instance, they're using Edge Impulse and a Wio terminal. So as mentioned, Wio terminal and a flow state sensor, and a little diagram as to what is happening here. There's a Hall effect sensor here, which basically just says, is the turbine wheel moving? How fast is it moving? Why would you need something like this? Well, the idea of water flowing through a pipe is very simple to humans. It's flowing through it, or it's not, or it's going a bit slow. To a machine, that's not all that easy to actually interpret. If the water is off, does that mean that there's a problem with the pipe? If the water is flowing through really fast, but not quite as fast as normal, does that mean there's a problem, or could that just be a problem with water pressure at one end? There's a number of things that could mean the pipe is clogged, and of course, if you are someone who is relying on water getting to all of your crops, it's nice to know very quickly if one of the lines is clogged and you're not going to get water to those crops, because otherwise they'll die. It's not what you want. So they're collecting data when there's no flow at all, when there is normal flow, and when there is a clog in the pipe. And this is all data that is then sent up to Edge Impulse. And as if you saw the recent video that I recorded at Embedded World with Robin from Nordic, this process is insanely quick. You can record stuff on a device and then send it up to Edge Impulse, and it will train the model, and then you can deploy it straight back to the device. And it takes minutes. It's wild. Considering how complicated machine learning was on normal devices a very few short years ago, it's incredible how you can do this without even needing to code at this point. So yes, the data that is collected from the pipe when there's water in it, when there's no water in it, when there's a clog in the pipe, is then sent up to Edge Impulse, and then that model is deployed back down onto the Wio terminal. And this is, once again, just another fantastic proof of concept as to how TinyML is going to be used in so many ways in so many places. In this case, in agriculture, but if you can think of almost anywhere where it's sort of difficult for a machine to interpret something that's easy for a human to, TinyML gives just the right amount of resolution to use artificial intelligence in places that you could never do it before. And to me, that's something I find super exciting. While the entire world is losing its mind about ChatGPT-4 or whatever it is, which is going to absolutely change everything, I'm really excited about these little changes as well. Moving on to a DIY smart lock from Mellow Labs. Now, smart lock projects have a special place in my heart because one of my earlier, more complicated tutorials that I wrote was how to make a completely from scratch smart lock. In my particular instance, it used a solenoid for the lock, it used a RFID tags and a module for getting in and out. It was more actually like an RFID entryway than a smart lock, but I'm gonna take the credit. It was earlier in my career, as it were. This, though, is a whole other level. This takes the idea of a smart lock and testing out whether you would like a smart lock to a new level. So, first things first, Mellow Labs knew they didn't want to destroy their lock. So they thought, okay, I'll make a scan of the lock I have, and so I can incorporate it into the design. However, shiny locks like this don't scan all that well, so they covered it in pen, and that worked pretty much perfectly. It gave them everything they needed at least to get it into Fusion 360, and then use it as the reference for the making the rest of their design. And then everything else kind of fell into place around it, although that's a very easy thing for me to say. I wasn't the one that had to do it, and it ended up with this amazing looking device here. This is a D1 Mini. If you're not familiar with them, that's the ESP32 based tiny little boards made by Wemos, the Wemos D1 Mini, and this is the buck converter for working with the servo, I presume. And yeah, as you can see, it slots right onto the door as it is, and it makes a smart lock that works without having to actually replace the lock on your door. It's a great way of trialing whether you would like a smart lock or not, but then again, if you have the engineering nous to do this, then I'm sure you come up with a way of actually still using the same lock and making it accessible by hand as well. It's just a really fun project and a really nice way of approaching it. I think we're very focused on the idea of making a one thing that does the thing, whereas these days, even with a smartphone, you can scan something and actually make things fit onto already existing devices. I really like that approach. If you'd like to find out more about it, including the Home Assistant integration, you can head to the YouTube channel from Mellow Labs. It is a channel with a bunch of amazing stuff on it already, and yet they only have 634 subscribers. Head over there and give them a subscription. Whoops, that's a bit loud. Head over there and give them a subscription. Oh, my second account that I use for the show is not subscribed to them, so now I'm subscribed to you twice. Head over there and give them a subscription. It's a fantastic channel. You can see there's a bunch of stuff here. They've also recently uploaded a bunch of their projects to the Electromaker website. I will leave a link to this in the description of this video, and yeah, what a fantastic project. It is time for Funding Website Things, the part of the show where we look at things on funding websites, hence the name. But we're going to start with something ever so slightly different, because Crowd Supply, as well as being an awesome place where you can find hardware that you can support and fund in a similar way to Kickstarter, but it's just specifically hardware, and yeah, I could go on about it more. But they also have their own symposium / conference / festival of cool ideas, which is called Teardown. Now, as far as I understand, the last teardown happened in 2019. It didn't happen the year after for obvious reasons. It didn't happen for a while. Obvious reasons. But it is back. This is an in-person event in Portland, Oregon in the USA. That means that I definitely can't go. It means that maybe some of you can't go, but it is worth keeping watching, because there is something that you might be able to do to contribute to other people who may want to go but cannot. And we'll get onto that in just a moment. Now, there is a very handy just the facts, what this is. Who should come to this event? Anyone interested in hardware, engineers, designers, artists, students, teachers. What is it? A 3-day lineup of talks, workshops, demos, installations, and puzzles. When? Friday to Sunday, June 23rd to the 25th, 2023. Where? In beautiful Portland, Oregon, on the campus of the Portland State University. Why? Well, shipping hardware to you is rewarding, but we miss seeing you in person. How? Well, with lots of our help from our friends, including their partner, SETI. Now, if you would like to know more about it, I'm going to leave a link to this page in the description. You can also see what happened in 2019. This is a very nice video that just sort of gives you a quick run over of everything that happened in the 2019 one. It goes through all the talks, it goes through all of the things that happened in Hackspaces. It really looks like an awesome event. I really wish I lived within the sort of distance to Portland, Oregon that would make it possible for me to go. But yes, I'm not someone that can easily up sticks and go to America just because something seems cool, unfortunately. And yeah. However, if you'd like to know more about it, this video is there, and you can find out everything you need to know from here. Now, this is the thing I was mentioning just before. The super early bird tickets are $100 for the event. And as I said, I cannot go. However, there is a community fund donation as well. So if you cannot go, but you would like to help someone else attend Teardown who maybe won't be able to do so for financial reasons or for whatever other reasons, you can actually pledge your own support by adding $10 to the pot, as it were, to pay for tickets for other people. And I just think this is a really nice idea. I wish more events did this. In the past, something that I've kind of suggested to people who have been running workshops, here in Berlin, for example, or people who've run hardware workshops, knowing how hard it is to A, get people to them in the first place, and B, get people to pay what is a modest amount to the person who's putting on that workshop, because I know exactly how much it costs to put your time into something like that. Compared to the financial situation some people is in, makes it difficult. So there's been a few times I've said in the past, hey, listen, I'll buy a couple of tickets. I can't come, but here, I promise you the money for a couple of tickets. Put it on your Twitter. Hey, you want to come to this? This is a free sponsored ticket. You have to say it's my name. This is exactly that. And I love that. It's fantastic. So if you're interested in attending Teardown or supporting someone else to attend Teardown, this will be a link in the description. Now, let's get on to the funding things. Now, we're going to briefly return to the MNT Pocket Reform, because the last time we looked at it, it was a pre-launch project. Now, the original MNT Reform really ruffled some feathers. It was a very expensive laptop, but with a good reason behind it. Their entire philosophy is that they can have a much more personal computer. A computer that will never spy on you. A computer that you can understand the software down to the hardware, right down to what is going on the MCU, the system on chip on board. It uses an NXP, a Cortex A53, I think, in the original. Please don't kill me if I get that designation wrong. But the idea being is that they are super personal computers with absolutely no way of spying on you. They don't have cameras on board. They don't have microphones on board. And you can understand every element of it. You can upgrade it yourself. You can repair it yourself. Now, one of the original things that caught the attention of the MNT, which wasn't necessarily loved by some people, was the fact that it cost a huge amount. It cost as much as a mid to high range laptop, to which everyone who kind of had seen what the project was going for answered, yes, but that just means it's not for you. And I don't own one. I don't have that much money to spend on it. It doesn't mean I don't think it's a wonderful idea and a wonderful project. Anyway, that's my quick introduction to it. If you'd like to know more about the project, you can come and read the crowd supply page just here. I just wanted to come back to it because I wanted to see how much these would be. I love the form factor of this. I would love to get one. I know I won't be able to afford one right now. But if you would like to back the project, you can get the Pocket Reform Black for $899, the Pocket Reform Purple for $969, and the Hyper Black, which is, it has a 1 terabyte SSD. Oh, that's cool. And a bunch of other things with it. Yes, if you are interested in this kind of a project, then you will already know whether you want to back this kind of project or not. And as you can see, this is a very popular thing. I'm not sure quite how long this page has been live. I have been checking back periodically, but they've already raised $204,000, almost $205,000 of the $135,000 that they were going for. And the original MNT was one of the most popular crowd supply projects of all time. It's really done well. So if you're interested in finding out more about it, I'll leave a link to this in the description. The MNT website as well also has a lot more about all of their different computers, different ways you can upgrade them, and the philosophy behind them as well. It's definitely worth a look. Now, a question that I don't ask very often on this show is, saxophone? Oh, what a strange thing to do. And of course, the answer to that question would be no, Haxophone. Obviously, this is a pre-launch project on Crowd Supply. And while I am making a bit of fun out of it, it's actually a serious project and it deserves attention because this is a incredibly deeply thought out way of saying, how do you bring things like wind instruments into hardware and microcontroller based music? Now, this is designed to work with the Raspberry Pi. The thing itself is a Pi hat. You can see the Pi sticking out the bottom here. But this isn't just a bunch of extra buttons plugged into a Pi with a funny mouthpiece on the top. There's a breath sensor in that mouthpiece, so it can tell how hard you are blowing through it. All of these keys aren't just placed randomly. They're supposed to be put in a place where if you have muscle memory from playing an actual saxophone, they will feel in familiar places. And while it won't be a one-to-one thing moving between this and a real saxophone, if you're already a saxophone player, you will find this something that would be quite fun to play on. And maybe if you've never played a saxophone before, this could prepare you. I'm not fully sure. I don't want to be I don't want to speak out of turn. I know a little bit about these kind of instruments because I play woodwind. I've played clarinet since I was a child. Admittedly, I played more as a child and young adult than I do now, but I still get it out every now and again. And I know that feeling of muscle memory. I can still play most of my scales now, having not really picked it up all that often. I pick it up maybe once a month. So I really respect the idea behind this. Now, as you can see, it's a pre-launch page. There's no price information on it as yet, but there is a few interesting things just as to how it's been put together and the ideas behind it, some of which I've paraphrased here, but obviously you want to read that from the maker themselves. The way that the breath sensor works is very interesting as well, and the fact that all of the bits that fit together is 3D printable means that, as it says here, if you break any part of it, you can just 3D print your own. It's all open hardware. And the general idea here is, as it says, it has built-in breath pressure sensor. It has mechanical keycaps. It has a tactile 5-pin mechanical switches as well. And now, two other things that I think are super interesting. It has its own built-in audio amplifier. That means that you don't need to necessarily attach it to a Raspberry Pi that has anything like that built in. You could use it with a 0 or a 0W. And presumably, depending on how you want to work with this, they do have their own libraries here. They have a driver that detects key presses, breath, and converts it into notes, and written in Rust and compiled on the Raspberry Pi into a native application. And then Fluid Synth, which is the synthesizer that will convert notes into sounds. Now, I haven't really dug into this yet. But as a general rule, anything that converts keystrokes into any kind of notation musical format is very easy to convert into something like MIDI. And once you've done that, you can run this through absolutely anything. Now, Fluid Synth, if it is what I'm thinking it is pretty decent. It is the general purpose open source synth for Raspberry Pi. Fluid Synth is more than decent. I was having a brain fart there, and for a second I thought I was looking at something else. Fluid Synth is an incredibly easy to set up live software synthesizer that you can put on a Raspberry Pi. It uses the Soundfont system. It is fantastic. So you don't necessarily need to do anything else with your own stuff. You'll be able to easily find cool sounding things using just the combination of their own software for converting input into notes and Fluid Synth itself. That's it for now. It's just a really, really awesome idea. I think anyone who is familiar with me and my place in the show and the things that I love will be clear why I love this. If you would like to know more about this project, you can always enter your email address here into the box, you can get more information on it, and I'm going to do that right now, actually. Yes, Haxophone is a really cool idea. I love the idea of taking real instruments and trying to make them feel a little bit more like they fit into a digital space. It's been done for many, many years. I remember being a child and seeing someone playing a real flute against a digital flute on Tomorrow's World, very old UK television program. And there's been various things like that since. I'm very glad to see that this tradition is continuing. This is Robin Mitchell, Electromaker's in-house gadget guru, and he's talking about this week's product of the week, which is Enviro. It's an amazing hat for the Raspberry Pi, for any Raspberry Pi. It works with all of them, and it essentially adds environmental sensing to any Raspberry Pi and has a nice software library that goes with it. Now, if you're not familiar with Product of the Week, this is something that other folks at Electromaker have been working on for a while, and it's really cool. It's a really nice way of going through different things one by one. I do a show where I talk about loads of things in quick succession in the week. This is a bit more of a deep dive into what a thing is and why you might want it. And the beautiful thing about it is that each one of these products that you see Robin holding is also a prize. We give each one away each week. So I gave a very brief idea as to what Enviro is. If you'd like to know more about it, the environmental sensing hat, you can come to this blog post, which I will link in the description. But as I said, in short, this is a Sense hat that will fit any Raspberry Pi or any Raspberry Pi compatible pin header, and it has a software library that goes with it, although of course your mileage may vary if you decide to try and use it with some obscure microcontroller that doesn't have the support that the libraries have. But yes, in short, it's a really cool looking thing. If you would like to win one of these for your Raspberry Pi, you can enter in the comments of this video or on social media or anything. The way that we track entries to our competitions is via hashtag. So the most important thing is to put the hashtag Enviro, which is here, ENVIRO, Enviro. And if you leave that hashtag along with saying what you might do with this hat if you get it, the draw will be completely random, but it's always nice for me to know what you might do with the prize if you win it. And also, you need to be subscribed to our YouTube channel or whatever social media platform that you enter this on. And that's it. We will be giving the prize away in next week's show. And for now, I suggest you come to this blog post and check Robin's video because, yeah, it's a fantastic deep dive into what is a very cool Raspberry Pi hat. We're going to close out this week's show by looking at a new product and an update to a product that we've looked at once before. And we're going to begin with Papered.ink. So Papered.ink is a series of e-paper displays powered by ESP32 chips. And some of you might be thinking that sounds quite familiar. And yes, they are very similar to Inkplate. This, to me, is not an issue. More people making amazing e-paper displays with amazing MCUs on them, the better. I'm very happy with that. When Papered.ink appeared, it immediately sold out. They were about to get new stock of the Classic. You can get the Merlot edition right now, which is $99. You can pre-order the Classic edition, which is just the black and white. So I believe this is red, white, and black. This is 3-color, and then you have black and white or monochrome, which is the 2-color, which is $90. Again, the $9 more that you pay for the Merlot edition, I think, is because the screen is better. The Classic has some changes in it. It's not just the $9 more for the screen. I think there's some differences in the hardware as well. But I wanted to mention that they're about to come back in stock. You can pre-order them now. They'll be shipping in May because they've just put out a significant update. And that is Home Assistant integration. Now, if you already use Home Assistant, this is going to be great because you can just add it to your already existing Home Assistant environment that you have. But if not, you can use this as its own Home Assistant device. This is basically a guide as to how to do it. You can install Home Assistant onto the device and then use the AccuWeather API integration, which already has its own plugin in Home Assistant. And you can just have this thing sitting somewhere, either battery powered or plugged in, and it will give you the next 3 days of weather. It'll give you sunrise. It'll tell you what the moon is doing. It'll give you a nice big date and time as well. Actually, it'll give you the update time. It's not actually the time because updating a clock all the time would not be good for battery life now, would it? It's just one of those really nice simple integrations that make these things jump out and think, oh, okay, I actually would have a use for that now. Pretty much any one of us who had spent enough time banging your head against microcontrollers, or if you're someone who's an engineer that works in the field, you would probably be able to theory craft together, okay, how would I make my own version of this by calling an API and doing all this kind of stuff? The reality is, at the end of the day, when you don't have all that much time, you might not want to do everything from scratch. This is a really nice way to just integrate things that we already know work nicely into a product that seems really nice as well. I mentioned last time I talked about this that I was I may be talking about this more because I'm going to buy one. They were completely sold out and I wasn't able to. Hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on one and try this very thing. And as you know, usually when I get my hands on things, they end up becoming prizes on the show, but I can't make any promises about that as yet. Let's just wait and see. Anyhow, I will leave a link to this Home Assistant tutorial in the description. You can also go to the main Papered.ink site from here. If you are interested in finding out more about the project, they don't just have the shop on here. There's actually a bunch of different information and different galleries of things that people have made with them, and also the differences between the two of them as well. So as I mentioned before, there was a few key differences as to why you might want to get one over the other, and you will see here the big one for me would be this 1 second full update versus a 17-second full update. That's quite a different one. A different one? That's quite a different number. That's longer. We are going to close out this week's show by talking about the Orange Pi 5. Late last year, it was either open for pre-orders or that's when it actually came out. Whatever it was at the time, I remember earmarking it and thinking, oh yeah, we should talk about that soon, and I never got around to it. Luckily, Phoronix has a fantastic write-up on it. Now, this is mostly just a benchmarking lots of different things, but in reality, that's what a lot of people kind of want to see. I feel like we're at a stage now where most people who understand the landscape of single-board computers understand that you can get something like a Raspberry Pi, which has a huge amount of software support, and pretty much no matter where you are in terms of programming it, you'll be able to get it to do what you want. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you get things like Orange Pi, who put out quite cheap hardware, but it doesn't necessarily have the best support, and there's a few things you're going to have to work out by yourself. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar, the Orange Pi 5 is based on the RK3588S. Now, there's been a fair few boards around with the 3588 chip in for a while. The 3588S chip has also been around for a while, but not been showing up in as many things. As far as I understand, it is the upgraded version, which has a few extra tricks under its HUD, mostly to do with things like Edge AI. I think it has a neural processing unit that the other one is lacking. Don't quote quote me on that, however. There's various different versions of this that you can get at various different prices. I'll leave a generic link to the Orange Pi site in the description, but just a very quick search. I think this is I just typed it into Google. It shows there's a 16 gigabyte version of it for $149.99. Yes, I mean, make of that what you will. There was a time when you would say that that's potentially a little expensive. I would say now that you're not really going to find any other single board computers with that amount of processing power for less than $200. We'll see what the world is like next year. But that's the sort of the vague introduction to this. But what I liked about the article that we're about to look at is that it kind of throws a lot of those other assumptions out the window and just says, in terms of raw power, how does this stack up to the Raspberry Pi 4? And the short answer to that is it beats it in pretty much every metric possible. Just quickly, as I was mentioning before, there is actually some pricing information on this blog post. So there's a 4 gigabyte version, which is $88, and there's the 8 gigabyte version for $108, and then the 16 gigabyte version retails for $138. As it mentions here, this is kind of pretty much exactly what I say. Considering that the Pi 4 boards on Amazon can be $100 to $200 due to the inflated prices, right now this is very competitive pricing. I understand that might not always be the case. So in case I didn't give enough props where it was due, this is the Phoronix blog. They have been running for a very long time. In fact, I believe Michael was the guy that founded this blog a long time back. They are fantastic for all things Linux and embedded. We haven't featured them all that much on the show. There's no reason for that. I've been reading this blog for quite a while. It's just, for whatever reason, it just never actually ended up in the show. This is a 5-page benchmark. And I'm not going to go through every benchmark. If you're interested in benchmarks, you know you're going to like this. But in short, we are seeing these bars here, big bar, small bar, big bar, small bar. Wherever you see the big bar with the Orange Pi 5, more is better. And then whenever you see the small bar with the Orange Pi, lesser is better. It's just showing that as a general rule, this is knocking it out of the park. But of course, it does, as I said at the very start of this part, rely very heavily on how much you're willing to do yourself. Orange Pi puts out very stable Debian images for the Orange Pi. There's also Arch images they put out. If you are comfortable with Linux and you want to do something which is a little bit more based on prior knowledge than something like a Raspberry Pi with the Raspberry Pi OS, then you might be comfortable with this. There is one last thing I'd like to say before we actually close up with this, though. The review mentions that there's an NPU with this particular Rockchip SoC, which is what I mentioned before, but there isn't much activity on the open source front in that part of it yet. Now, previously, there was also an NPU on the Orange Pi 4B Plus, which completely goes against what I said moments ago about that being one of the reasons the designation S on this system on chip. I will admit to being slightly, not that familiar with all of the Rockchip line. I was a bit more familiar at one point, and B, not particularly healthy right now, so my brain isn't working at its full speed. However, I know that with the Orange Pi 4B, there was some very Orange Pi type thing where none of their official images supported the NPU, but if you actually went to the Google Drive where you could find the user manual, there was an NPU image in that Google Drive folder for some reason, and that's how you access the NPU. This time that isn't the case. I've actually checked that same trick once again. But there is a GitHub page here, which I will link in the description, which is a general purpose way of giving an advanced interface to the Rockchip NPU, and the RK3588S is one of the chips that is supported. So if you are interested in fiddling with the NPU, this is a GitHub page that you might be worth taking a look at. I have not done any deep diving into this. It was just curiosity that drove me here, and I thought I would share that with you. If you are someone who is looking for a very powerful, I should point out, not Wi-Fi connected, this is just a powerful board. I'm not saying that it is a drop-in replacement for the Raspberry Pi 4. It just so happens that this is what is being benchmarked against. But yeah, there's no Wi-Fi on board with this. There's Ethernet, and that's it. But yes, if you're looking for a powerful board which is competitively priced at this particular moment in time, with all of the general ins and outs that you would want apart from Wi-Fi, which has a neural processing unit on board that you could potentially get going using this GitHub link, the Orange Pi 5 is definitely worth a look. The other thing you can always do with Orange Pi is wait for that sweet spot between them releasing something and then, of course, later on it becoming less supported, where they do actually get everything working and do add to it. Hopefully they will do the same thing with this and just put out something that works straight out of the box. Who knows? That was the podcast for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for all of the support that you continue to show this podcast. Just a quick reminder, if your podcast app has a way of giving something stars, for example, if you give us a high rating, that would be highly appreciated. Of course, it is absolutely not necessary. Next week, I will be in England. We are traveling with the whole family over to England, and I do not know if I will be able to get a regular show out or not. I am working, every aspect of it is something that is being worked on right now as to, is there a place I can record over there? Can I conceivably take a smaller cut down version of the equipment I use to record the show? All of these questions are unanswered at this point. So I'm hoping I get a show out from there. If I do not, I will chat to you in a couple of weeks' time. But as always, I hope you're having a safe, fun and creative week, and I'll chat to you when I do.